Hi there, Year 10. Hope you're well. This is a double lesson on mission, evangelism and church growth. This is quite a big topic, but hopefully this PowerPoint will help draw all of your ideas together. So the first thing I'd like you to do, if you have your RS book, ideal. If not, on paper, or you can do this as a Word document, I'd like you to write the title Mission, Evangelism and Church Growth now, please. Okay, so we're going to be looking today at the concept of mission and evangelism. So if you don't know what those words mean right now, it doesn't matter. And we're going to look at why they're important to the Christian church. Then we're going to understand the ways in which the church has and continues to grow, which is kind of interesting because last week we looked at whether Britain was still a Christian country or not. Then at the end of this double lesson, I'm going to set you off looking at the work of a charity called Tear Fund. Now, as a starter, what I'd like you to do is to give me a 2-mark definition of the word evangelism. Now you can use your knowledge organiser to help you. If you don't know what evangelism is or means, then what you can do is you can write that down as your starter. Press pause and do that now, please. Okay, so let's look at evangelism. Now, evangelism is very specific to Christianity, and it's when Christians try and tell other people about their religion in some way in order to try and convert them and get them to become a Christian too. So have a look at your starter. Was this something that you mentioned? And to get that 2nd mark, did you give an example of evangelism? For example, Jehovah's Witnesses knocking on somebody's door. So let's have a think in your own life. Have you ever encountered Christians who have been evangelising? And what form does that take? Have a little look at these pictures and they identify some different ways that Christians might evangelise. So we have the Gideons giving free copies of the Bible out. This gentleman with his sign. This person is giving out, going to people's homes. And this is a different form of evangelism. The Salvation Army here feeding the homeless. How about these signs? I wonder if you've ever seen any of these signs outside your local church. And then these are called tracts or religious leaflets. I wonder if you've ever come home to find some tracts to your front door. And these are the Gideons who sometimes go into churches and give out, to schools and give out free copies of the New Testament. Here are some more examples. Okay, now to do the next section, you're going to need your remote learning pack. And I'd like you to turn to page 212. I'd like you to read the very top. And then I'd like you to answer these 2 questions using the information from the textbook, but also the slides before. So the first question, what's meant by evangelism? The second question, how do Christians evangelise? And I'd like you to do that as a list. So press pause so that you can do that now, please. Okay. Now, whilst some evangelists tell people about God directly, others try to show God's love through the way that they act. For example, the Gideons we've spoken about, they are an association of evangelical Christians and they donate copies of the Bibles to hotels, hospitals and schools in the UK and around the world. If you've been lucky enough to stay in a hotel, maybe you can remember opening the drawer of the bedside table and seeing one in there. I know when I went into hospital a couple of years ago to have an operation, there was indeed in my little side table next to my hospital bed a copy of a Bible, and that had been given for free by the Gideons. I wonder why you think that might be. Here are some Gideons. Okay, now let's link back. Can you remember when we talked about the Salvation Army as a Christian denomination? How could you argue that their work is evangelism? I wonder what other actions the church might do in the local community that could be argued to be evangelism. Think back to our lesson on the social role of the church. Any of those? Have a think. Now, if I were you, I'd have been thinking about the mother and baby groups, opportunities to get people into church and start conversations. That's what evangelism is. Okay, now what I'd like you to do, we're going to move on from evangelism a little bit, and we're going to start talking about Christian mission. Now I'd like you to read the rest of page 212, and then I'd like you to have a go at answering these questions. Question 3, what is the mission of Christianity? If you've ever seen the film Mission Impossible, then you'll know that in them, Tom Cruise's character has a mission, a secret mission that he has to fulfill. Well, Christians aren't like spies, so what's their mission? Question 4, who should Christians be aiming to convert, to change into being Christian? Question 5, what role did missionary work have in the past? And question 6, why might Christians evangelizing today be a problem to some people? Why might some people not like it? Okay, press pause and answer those questions for me now. Okay, so now you've hopefully done your questions. Now I'd like you, this is on Show My Homework, I'd like you, if you can, to print this off and stick it into your book. If you don't have access to a printer, no problem. You just need to copy this quote out. If you have a purple pen, try and do that in purple. Press pause while you do that. Okay, so you've stuck in your teaching. Now what I'd like you to do is to have a little think about interpreting this quote. Now in Matthew, in this quote, Jesus gives what's known as the Great Commission. Okay, so I want you to read the passage, and then what I'd like you to do is have a little think about what Jesus is telling Christians to do. Now this quote should be familiar because we've actually talked about it before in our lesson on baptism. So have a little think. What do you think Jesus is telling his followers to do? Press pause. Okay, so hopefully what you've considered is the idea that Jesus is saying that Christians should go all over the world and they should try and convert people to Christianity. That's what Jesus meant by making disciples of all nations. Then he tells them that they should go and baptize them as well in the name of the Father, Son and Holy Spirit. So it's quite a clear message from Jesus, isn't it? Go out, spread the word around the world. Now, we're going to join evangelism and mission together. So here's some questions that I'd like you to consider. Question 8, do you feel that evangelism is the right thing for people to do? Do you have any objections to it? And this is your own opinion. Question 9, have you ever had a Christian try to evangelize to you? And if so, how did it make you feel? Now this links very much to last lesson. Question 10. Britain is increasingly a multicultural and pluralistic society. That just means there's lots of religions in it. So is there still a place for Christians to evangelise? And question 11, what about evangelism through charity? Should help come with spiritual conditions? Now, this is about whether if Christians are helping others, there shouldn't be any kind of hidden agenda. You know, you could argue that the Salvation Army are helping people, but they're also kind of on the quiet trying to help them to become a Christian themselves. Would some people object to that? Is it quite underhand? Should people just help in a charity without this undercurrent of wanting to convert people as well? So question 11 is also your own opinion. I'd like you to press pause and I'd like to have a go at answering that question now, please. Now, this is a bit of a shocker. I want you to watch this clip and you'll see from the headline, American missionary killed with bow and arrow by remote tribesmen. Yeah, you've guessed it. Being a missionary can be quite dangerous. Have a little look at this clip. Okay, so why did Chow go to the Sentinel Islands, and what are your thoughts on his actions? Do you think he was mad? Do you think he shouldn't have gone there if he knew that people going there would be potentially killed, and he was. What are your thoughts? Remember that a missionary is somebody who is spreading the mission of Christianity, spreading Jesus's mission. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to print out and stick in this article if you can. If you don't have a paper copy of it, don't worry. I've included this on Show My Homework so you can read it from there. Then what I'd like you to do is to make me a table with pros and cons of missionary work. So what are the positives, but what are the negatives? Okay, so if you do that in your book, 2 columns like we've done before in RE, and add the information from this article and what we've done today. What do you think are the positives and the negatives of being a missionary? Okay, now this is probably going to be your second lesson of your double. So a new title's needed here, please, folks, which is Church Growth. You see, if you think back to the lesson on Christianity in modern Britain we looked at this idea that in this country, Christianity was definitely on a decline in this country. So if you do question 13 and question 14 and 15, I want you to answer those questions as best you can based on what you did for me last week. Okay, press pause while you do that. Okay, so you've done those questions and you will have absolutely correctly realised that the number of people identifying as Christians is definitely decreasing. And what's happening to church attendance in churches like the Catholic Church and Church of England is that they're on a decline. But this is not the case with all denominations. Let's find out why. So, attached to Show My Homework are a series, a series of statistics, and I'd like you to look at them, please. If you have a printer and can print them out, amazing. If not, don't worry, you don't need to. Now, question 16 says, what does each of these graphs tell us about the growth of churches in the UK? So what you're going to do is use skills that you might use in sociology, history, possibly even in maths, and geography as well, actually, interpreting graphs, interpreting them as a source. So these are the statistics. So you'll see here that 1980 is blue and black is 2015. And if you look at the decline in the churches, except the Pentecostal church, which is actually the only, new churches and Pentecostal churches are, and the Orthodox Church, interestingly, are actually bigger now than they were in 1980. And this is the numbers of funerals, baptisms and marriages. We can see that those are in a decline in churches of England. But attendance at Christmas services is increasing. I wonder why that is. Okay, so can you turn to, in your remote learning pack, the top of page 213, please, and answer these questions. Now, these are numbered linked to last lesson, so you haven't missed questions. These are just following on. So question 17, which denominations of Christianity have seen a decrease in numbers? So the numbers have gone down. But question 18, which churches are thriving? Which churches have a population going up? And why do you think that might be? And then question 19, what is church planting? And how can this account for the success of some churches? Okay, for the next activity, you need to read the middle of page 213. Question 20, which denomination has launched the Fresh Expressions movement? Question 21, what are the aims of this movement? And 22, give some examples of these fresh expressions. So what are these churches trying to do? Now, in your own opinion, question 23, do you think that this movement will be successful? Do you think this is what the church should be doing? Okay, here's some pictures to go with that. So is it a church or is it a cafe? Well, it's actually a mixture of both. What a cool idea, huh? Here's a little Christingle service looking at this going on. Some mother and baby toddler groups, and it's like an Easter ceremony, doesn't it? Now I wonder if you can remember, why do you think all these groups of people are next to a river? Yes, that's right. They're having a massive baptism. So let's summarise. Well, in the UK, church attendance is declining and Christianity in general is declining. But is this a worldwide trend? In which countries is Christianity in a decline, increasing, and what do the following suggest? Let's have a little look. So this is a map of the entire world, and it maps the, pardon the pun, it maps the growth of Christianity. Now red marks significant growth, and if we have a look over here, we can see that actually in certain parts of the world, Christianity is significantly, easy for me to say, growing. But in yellow, this marks a decline. And in the kind of brown colour, this is a significant decline. So there are parts of the world where Christianity is in a decline. Seeing if this map's going to load up properly. I don't know if it is. Here we go. Now this shows the adult population attending Christian churches on a monthly basis. And the darker the colour, the higher the number. And again, you can see, so here's, ooh, that clicked on, I do apologise. But you could see England there. Don't think I can go back now, sorry guys. Now this one's probably a little bit easier to see. So you've got the red colours and the pinks are Christianity, the greens are Islam, the purple and pink colours Buddhism, yellow is Hinduism, the blue is Judaism, the orange is Sikhism, no religion, I can't see because my clip's out of the way, I think it's grey, and folk religions is brown, so I think no religion is grey on here, guys. So yeah, what do you notice about that? You can see how Christianity actually is like properly the dominant religion, isn't it? That's massive, that's huge. I wonder whether we would have predicted this. I think maybe not, I don't know.